I always like to bring on filmmakers and creatives, and my next guest, Mike Lemery Films, is no exception. But I don't know, Mike, if people know that bald eagles live in New York City, yet here you are along the Hudson River capturing them. First of all, tell us who you are. Introduce yourself because I'm just meeting you for the first time as well. So tell us who you are and what kind of films you do make.
So my name is Mike Lemery. I live near outside of Albany, New York, and one of my passions. Well, I've always done video production for a career, but one of my passions that I started in 2013 was filming bald eagles. In 2013, that was the first time I've ever seen a bald eagle, and ever since that day, I've been kind of hooked.
Sure.
And I've just been going back. I've been learning more, and I've been getting better and better footage. So now what I do is I take all those and I make little short stories and video clips of bald eagles, mostly in New York State, but all around the East Coast. And that's kind of what I do for fun and for my passion.
Where are they normally found? Because I know we talk about Pigeon Forge, we talk about other places that aren't New York. So would you consider it a surprise for some New Yorkers to hear that they reside in our own state?
Absolutely. So that's what got me started. So I was actually surprised too. So I was at a place near Albany, and it has a big waterfall. And when I was there, they had one of those signs that give you information about the waterfall, and they had a picture of a bald eagle on there, and it said bald eagles are seen here. And I was like, well, I had no idea there was even bald eagles in New York State. So that actually the same day I saw two eagles that I got on film, and so that's when I started doing research. And bald eagles weren't in the late 70s. There was only one pair of eagles left. So they're.
Have you ever gotten to see Challenger at all? I've got to ask you that.
Yeah. Yeah. So they were on the brink of being almost extinct in New York State. So because they were being poisoned basically by pesticides from farmers, and they couldn't reproduce. So what they did was they banned that substance, and then they brought in eagles from Alaska, and then they released them in New York State. And so now, so we went from in the 70s to having like about one pair in the whole state to now there's, I think, probably over 500.
Gotta ask you this. We see them as this graceful, soaring animal representing our nation, right? They are a national bird, bald eagle. But in your experience, I feel like they get down and dirty and messy to get their prey, do they not?
Yes. So I think one thing people will be surprised about bald eagles is that they can be scavengers. They can be they're thieves. Number one, too. So they go for the easiest meal. So if that's stealing a fish from a duck or from a seagull, or especially another eagle, that's usually their first main reason is to get food the easiest possible way. That also means they'll find dead deer during the winter, whatever they can get their hands on. I mean, they like fish. That's their main source of food, and they prefer that. But especially during winter, they're going to take whatever they can get.
In your research, how did they become the national bird? I'm curious to know if you researched that.
I don't know the exact story behind it. I know that I've heard that there was Benjamin Franklin, I think, wanted the turkey to be the national symbol.
Sure.
I think because he said that bald eagles are thieves, which they are. I think it's just when people see them, when they fly, the power and the grace and the beauty that they represent. I think just looking at one that makes you want to represent our country.
Sure. I don't think many people give credit to the sanctuaries that hold these beautiful birds. I mean, the fact that Challenger is able to do these fly-ins from center field to Yankee Stadium or across midfield, I mean,
Yep.
That's a big credit to the sanctuaries. Have you ever visited one out of your curiosity?
No, I haven't been to a sanctuary, but I've filmed eagles who are injured, who have been rehabbed and released back into the wild, which is kind of similar to a lot of, I think Challenger might have a similar story. So there's a lot of places that will take in these eagles that are injured, and they'll rehab them and they'll put them back out into the wild, which is really see because, like I said, there at one point they were almost gone, and now it's to the point where it's like you see them in cities, which is really cool. It just blows a lot of people's minds. They have no idea, and I think there's a lot more around cities than people even realize.
I see you're wearing Lake Placid, so I know you're up in the Schenectady, Albany area. I've got to ask. Lake Placid is such a beautiful place. Have you seen them up there at all?
I've seen a handful of them, but actually, the most of them that I see are actually in urban areas, right around Albany. So, like, there's one pair of eagles that they like a telephone pole is one of their favorite places to hang out. There's another one that was right within a mile of that same pair who had a nest on a telephone pole. So, there, I think because there's a lot more of them, they're spreading out to a lot, more areas in the state, and so that means not just places like that. It doesn't have to be in the middle of the nowhere for eagles. They're going wherever they can find food now, basically.
Well, and that's why you see them in the Hudson River as well. Um, the there's just so much I gotta ask you because it's a novelty, and I'm glad that you got into this. The rehab, though, I mean, people don't really realize how dangerous it could be for bald eagles. So tell us about that portion as well.
Yeah, so there's a lot of, even though they're probably their top predator on the food chain, they do have a lot of. It's not easy for them to survive. So I think the number one thing that they have to worry about is actually other eagles. So we had a pair here in Troy, and so one of the female had a band on her foot. So a band is when they were either born or when they were injured, they put a band on them to mark their sex, the age, and so you kind of identify that eagle. Sure. That eagle was actually killed by another intruding eagle and took over the pair. So I think eagles is probably that's one of their main threats. A lot of times they get injured that way is eagle fights. Obviously, human factors are always.
Have you filmed an eagle fight?
Yeah, I mean, not to the death like that, but there's times where they'll go and they'll lock tails and they'll spin each other around, or they'll chase each other out, or knock each other down, especially on the ice and stuff. They like to do that. They're very aggressive. So
I've got to ask you, because you have this YouTube channel at Lemery Films, and you took this amazing shot of a bald eagle, which I shared on my own profile because I'm like, whoa. And so has Nat Geo reached out to you? Have you gotten any requests to film for them?
So I last year I filmed a little bit for Smithsonian Channel. They're doing actually a TV show about the Hudson River, which is going to be really cool. So I got to film footage of that of bald eagles, and then I filmed a little bit of footage for PBS did a show about osprey, which is another raptor, and eagle footage that I shot for that too. So I have done a couple things like that.
A couple things. Are they friendly? So I imagine some of these eagles might have gotten to know you. Did they ever fly around you? Did you ever get to touch one in your filming ventures? Or
so generally, eagles don't like people. They're very skittish. Eagles that live in cities are a lot more tolerant of people, but you can't walk up to one and it's going to fly away. They really don't like people. You can get if the further out you go, the further away from the city, you can't even get close to one sound, and it spooks them. They get spooked pretty easy by people, and they're afraid.
And they're so fierce, you wouldn't think that's the case, right? They look so like strong and and bold. Really, that's how they look.
Damage to you if they wanted to, really, because think about their talon is like the size of your fist, right? And they're sharp talons. So I mean,
the gloves that these guys have to wear, it's unbelievable. All right. When you do post these, because the image struck me, I was like, whoa, look at this bald eagle in New York State. When you do post these, you get anybody saying like, God bless America, God bless the USA, #America, those type of comments?
Yes, I do. I get that quite a bit. I actually got a shot of one flying in front of a flag.
Wow.
The other day, American flag. So yeah, I get that quite a bit. I get a lot of people. I think most people just like the beauty of them is what I get the most comments about, and that and their gracefulness.
We can't help but think that America's been damaged. So personally, every time I see a bald eagle looking pristine, I'm like, maybe that's a sign we're coming back as a country.
Yeah, there you go. Exactly. Absolutely.
Do you ever do other raptors? Do you ever film, besides the osprey and bald eagles, any other that we can look at Lemery Films?
I really focus mostly on bald eagles, mostly because I think it's my favorite to film. I think they're the most interesting. I think their personalities are pretty unique, and they're very aggressive. They're very entertaining, and I think they're just people love to watch them too. I think there's other raptors that are really cool, but I think bald eagles resonate with people a lot more for whatever reason, whether it's the representation of America or just how cool they look when they're flying. I don't know exactly what it is, but it really resonates with people.
Thank you, Mike Lemery Films, for joining me, Mike, and come back soon. Listen to the full interview in the link below, and we'll be back with more on Alex Garrett Podcasting.